essentially you've got to appeal to everybody at the moment in the best light. The Fresh Lawrence Girls were a really good example of this as well.
Yep.
It's literally look really good and people will come. Look mediocre, and are you willing to pay that extra $100,000 that is kind of what the asking price is now or seeming to be?
Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to The Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to The Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and it brings me great pleasure to say I've got the band back together. I've got all team members sitting at the desk, back from his holidays, and as you may guess from the way he's going to introduce himself, back from late night radio announcement. Johnny McGregor.
Oh, yeah. It's good to have you back, J-Mac. No, it's nice to be back. Well, it's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I suppose, because we had Susie, Laura, then the fresh guys.
And we had Sam and your dad in there as well.
Yeah, look, so it's been a while between the original lineup. It's kind
4
of like,
weeks.
when they put a new singer into a band, and like when In Excess got the JD Fortunes or the John Stevens and put them in and said, yeah, no, we're still In Excess, we promise, like we're the real deal.
Nah, that makes sense. And like that guy, I mean, In Excess, was that the first band too that actually sit there and did we're going to do a public...
Are they like a reality show? There probably would have been other public searches for people to front their band, but yes, that was probably the most 2000s version of let's find a new singer.
Yeah, it didn't work. Well, why don't they just find someone that just, a female singer or something, like don't try and find a replacement for Michael Hutchins because it ain't going to happen. So why don't you just completely pivot?
I think they decided they found somebody.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah. Look, it's been amazing.
It's on the show. He's the best.
Well, look, we didn't have a competition on here to have new hosts or anything, but it's been really, really interesting having kind of a rotating seats and having a bit of a change up across things. Pat did an amazing job at hosting last week look, we won't call them difficult situations. We'll just call them there was a lot of energy in the room, and Pat did an amazing job at steering the ship.
Thanks. I take the credit.
No, so we had the Fresh Launch ladies on last week. That was... I've forgotten their names. It's fallen out of my head. Reese and Liv. They came in and they did an amazing job chatting with Pat and Suze. And then prior to that, we've had Laura and Suze both joining us on the pod. And then you had the special episode with your dad and
Sam.
So it's just been...
And then Sam before that. So it's been ages since it's been the three of us.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about nothing interesting.
Yes, well, so far we've covered off on things we've done in the past and In Excess and whether you should try and bring a new frontman in.
Basically,
thank you for listening to this property.
Welcome to the Property Pod. You're listening to the Property Pod.
maybe we should rebrand as like Seinfeld, a show about nothing.
Yeah.
So I was just saying before, this is episode 97. I can't believe we've done this
that's so good.
97 times. And I've gone back and listened to some of the annals again just to kind of try and put something together for big episode 100.
Oh, yeah?
And, we were horrible.
Yeah.
And we were so excited just to get to episode 7 because that's what we heard was like, you're a real podcast if you make it to number 7.
Yeah.
And now we're at 97.
Boom.
So
3 to go, baby.
But in the end, I love that line from the show Adventure Time. And my brother put me onto this actually because Adventure Time's got Jake the dog. And it's
it's the cartoon, yeah.
But he goes, sucking at something's the first step at getting kind of good at something.
Sucking at something. Oh, okay, yeah. You've got to suck at something before you got to do your 10,000 hours kind of thing to, all right, I'd play that, yeah.
But I like too, there's no 10,000 hours to get to mastery. No. He's just like, you got to suck at it to get sort of good at it.
And I'd say we're sort of good at it now.
The thing is, but you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know? I love that.
We've still got our hat in the ring and we're going for it.
Yeah, so. We've got a rule in my band room. It's called 60%. If you can get the song to 60%, it goes on the playlist. And the reason why that come about was you get so many people that like, oh, but I'm not that good. It's like, doesn't matter. Just pick up I end up buying a triangle as well because
you did.
Because everyone goes, oh, I can play the triangle. Well, good news.
There's like a Saturday Night Live skit with Will Ferrell with more cowbell, more cowbell.
And I got one of those too. The whole point is because everyone gets to be involved, and if we get the songs to 60%, it goes on the playlist.
Imagine John's music room. He's got like 50 people in his band,
But I'll
and
sort of
45 of them are playing a cowbell or a triangle.
That's so true. Like John would be too.
Or those clacking sticks.
I've got the egg shakers. Oh, the clackers, the the maracas. I've got to get those.
Just John's inclusive band. Like nobody's refused.
Yeah. Well, and they tried to. It was like, good news. I can play the clackers. Good news.
All right, so maybe it was better back when we were having rotating seats
rotating
and we were
seats.
talking real estate. We do need to jump into something here today. And look, it's one of those things where I know very little about this. This was an REIA report that came out. I thought we'd jump into some of the stats. Basically, it breaks down the June quarter of 2021.
Yeah.
There was something in there called weighted average. I don't know what that is. So you guys are going to have to hit me with what that means.
I think if I was to do just a quick thought, I think it reflects what everyone's experienced. So, and 3 months in Tasmania hasn't been enough really to get a sense of it. But when you go back over the 12 months, it really starts to get perspective because you've had that, 20%, 26, 28% growth over 12 months, which is just unbelievable because, we've had this, curve ever since 2017, realistically, that's just continued to push in a positive price direction. Obviously anyone who's buying at the moment, and I was just sitting there last night with our offsider, Aaron Murray, with clients of ours at 6:30, looking to make an offer on one of the properties we have listed here.
Yep.
And it was the same thing, like the people don't even balk about, I need to offer 100 grand above asking at the moment. Like it's not, it just rolls off people's tongue. Like just the expectation change of the buyers. Of the what is happening is unbelievable.
Well, it says here that the weighted average for the capital cities around the country is 4.4%. So weighted average must be looking at every single capital city and then averaging the lot of them out together.
Absolutely, yeah. And so then I guess commenting on the fact that Australia-wide, it is shifting. So another one of our clients, he'll be selling his property in Claremont soon. He's moving to Cairns. And when we were first having this conversation with him maybe 6 months ago, what was happening where he was buying had not experienced what Tasmania is experiencing now. But now he's going to be moving into it. He's even noticed the shift in Cairns is starting to move as well. Another client who moved from West Moona, she had the same thing. She moved to Queensland again. The suburb escaped me, but it was a regional town.
Yep.
And when she was looking there probably 6 months before she put her house on the market here, it was still nothing, silent. But then when she sold here, then moved to where she is now, all of a sudden that suburb had caught up. So,
well, I don't think anyone's going to argue that Hobart hasn't been outperforming the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Like this report goes in to say that even though the average for the entire country is sitting at 4.4%, Hobart itself over the last quarter is 8.2% growth. So we're double the weighted average, which is just crazy.
Yeah, so Pat, even like I've got here that it's saying that in the June quarter, the median house price in Hobart increased to $675,000. Like if you thought about that a few years ago, it'd be unfathomable to say that that's kind of what the Hobart Marketplace would be sitting at.
Well, we've got properties that we've sold last week in Rosetta hitting, 800,000.
Yeah.
There's other examples that places in the northern suburbs are over $1 million now. It's just amazing what's been achieved.
Yeah, so to put that into context of what's happening at the moment, the open home that Suze and Laura were running on the weekend was pretty close to your place. You went up and had a visit, had a look around, and
had to give them a free coffee and cookie. So
yeah, well, shout out to Dom at Wilfred for that one. But you said it almost felt like a nightclub or something.
Yeah,
the vibe standing outside, lining up to kind of get in. It was
So the amount of there was that many people there, and just COVID control that the girls were working through because of the volume of people coming through was just amazing. Yeah. And look, Dom helps really well there because he's able to keep the crowd happy while they wait their turn. But it's just an amazing amount of people that were coming through the property, and it just shows how many are out there trying to buy at the moment.
Oh, look, and when you're dealing with 100+ people walking through a house, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, so again, they'd had a open home in East Baghdad that was kind of, out of the general city limits. They'd been out to that. That had a really good showing as well. They said it was 6 degrees when they were there, but it had the feel of -2.
Yeah.
And they still had a bunch of people coming through that, which is, that's, again, people looking at something that's priced quite high in a place that's kind of out of the city, but there's still this many people that are still out there looking and being like, this is an opportunity that I might jump on. And then you've got Dooley's Avenue, which they were at, which kind of just went gangbusters. There was kind of people everywhere.
One thing that I do find interesting is that even in a strong sellers market like this one, pricing still really matters. So we had with those examples another one that we had, at Dowsing Point, which was highly successful. We did have another one recently in Derwent Park where we positioned that at offers over $575 because the most recent sale in that street was like $598 or something, which is an exception, is well above the weighted
median.
average.
Yep. The weighted average. Nice.
Nice
callback there, J-Mac.
Set up and deliver. That's how you write a good script. Okay.
Until he does that.
I couldn't. I had to take myself back off the pedestal again. Anyway, so what was interesting about that we did find a buyer for $600. However, we only had about 5 people at the open home. So what we found interesting on that is that even in a hot market, pricing still matters across different suburbs because different price points have different volumes of people.
Do you think presentation's starting to play a role in that as well? Like if you look at the couple of places that had off the chart people through it, they will present it really well. Like they look stunning. So
without question,
So Dowsing Point, Dooley's. I know the one that the girls have got this weekend in Phillip Avenue. That's going to go off, and they all have a similar style to them.
Yeah, well, look, I was talking with Sam, just the other day. We were working on a small little video talking about like how important first impressions are.
Yeah.
And just kind of the analogy we used was it's kind of like Tinder out there or one of the dating apps on your phone where you literally, people are jumping on them. Well, what's Home Loop? The one that we're in the beta at the moment is essentially an app that is a 414 app that you can download and look at properties and swipe whether you like them or dislike
left, right, swipe right, baby.
So exactly. So what we were saying was that, or what Sam was saying was that, essentially you've got to appeal to everybody at the moment in the best light. The Fresh Lawrence girls were a really good example of this as well.
Yep.
It's literally look really good and people will come. Look mediocre, and are you willing to pay that extra $100,000 that is kind of what the asking price is now or seeming to be?
So I've got a really good story for that one then. So
Hit us.
The couple from Dowsing Point said something really interesting which stuck in my mind, which was they bought time. So what they meant by that was they had another house already that is in the throes of renovations, and I can appreciate that. I'm renovating my place. I'm living with a mate who's renovating his house. Absolute chaos in my life at the minute whenever I go home.
Well, just before we started recording, you were talking about the emails that you're reminding yourself to.
Hats off to Amelia. So she's been a godsend, as well as you guys have, for me to actually have a proper break because I went gangster and got a new number.
We did mention the burner phone last week. Yes, that did come up. 0409.
But I just realised Amelia reminded me that I haven't taken off because she's getting every email that I get. So also that means all the little reminders that I send myself. So also like last night it was just because I have to go to my parents' house to wash my clothes, like it's chaos. But because I sent an email last night saying wash sheets. And then reach out to my brothers again for the birthday gift to say thanks. And Amelia just goes, John, make sure you wash your sheets today. And remember to take off your emails as well.
I think it's going to be a
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's going to be a windy day, so your sheets will dry, so you'll be fine.
You seem to pivot, though. You were talking about buying time. And then you just left that story.
He was buying time so that his brain could think about what he was actually going to say.
Yeah. Well, it probably works well in that sense. So, again, when...
they were renovating, buying time.
Yeah, so what happened was that's when I used to say, well, look, people will pay a premium for a finished product. But what are they really buying? Well, in their case, they were buying time. So they said, well, look, we didn't mind because now they get to start a life together and they get to live in a house and they just enjoy it, So then they can go back and do all their projects and stuff like that. But when they go home, they're together. And so that meant that there's no arguments about renovating. There's no, let's just sit down and watch a movie. But I just thought it was so interesting, and I really, that's the value that people can place on a finished product. They're buying something that they can't ever replace. Something I was really proud of when obviously coming back from holidays. For me, it's about getting perspective as well. So it's about there was so many things I had was grateful for this business with you guys is what you enabled me to relax. One of the things too is that for all my failings, I think one thing we might have done well for our new rookie Aaron is it's how to negotiate. So
he's been a negotiating beast while you're away.
Yeah, because in our process, ultimately, we probably double our working hours where we could probably just seal the deal. But I think that's one thing I'm really proud of this business is that we do the work that actually represents our clients well.
Yep.
And so with that, there was one thing that one of our old sign guy, he's retired now, he said one thing about our old business is that every single one of our signboards always used to, when you pick it up, always used to have a sold sticker. Whereas, and this was in tough markets, so normally he'd go up and then he'd take the sign down, he'd go up and take the sign down. He said our business always had a sold sticker when it came time for him to come back.
Yeah.
And so when I thought that through, it really was a reflection of the process. So we can't always get what we want all the time when it comes to, presenting the home, etc. But even in tough markets, it matters. And, it's always, so we've taken that discipline of working exceptionally hard through the hard markets to working exceptionally hard in the good markets. And so that's what's really making the next level of difference again.
Yeah, so you're saying you're not resting on your laurels when it comes to a busy time like now where people are throwing massive numbers at just you literally put a cardboard box online and you can get 100,000 for it.
Exactly.
You're saying all the hard work that you put in and then also the hard work that you've put into young Aaron Murray is all kind of coming into fruition and you've had 2 weeks away, you've stepped away and had a wonderful time at Falmouth. You've come back and be like, man, like my little caterpillar has blossomed into a beautiful butterfly, just making deals.
He loved it, and he loves it. Loves the environment. Really, I think it's a real reflection too. Is that all of a sudden he was able to get a lot more stuff on his shoulders, and he shined. Which is really exciting.
I heard a rumor that you came in and were trying to fix up all of his little contracts while that had already been delivered to the people, but you came in and were.
Oh, yeah, well, I thought...
We're stepping all over his hard work.
No, well, it was the same process we did to help stay organised. Thought I got there, I was like, I can't be bothered dealing with my own stuff right now. I'll fill out some forms. It's completely unnecessary.
I just heard a little rumour that you were just tinkering away at a few things that might have already been tinkered away and put into the other...
Well, admittedly, too, they're just our cover pages, so they weren't necessary.
Anywho, it's good to get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I've really enjoyed my time away, and I think getting that perspective was so important for me when it comes to that time. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this business that it's been really exciting as well, having that reflection on the responsibilities you guys take that I don't have to worry about anymore by being part of a bigger team, allows us to do really good work.
Yep.
And when I think about those, I suppose to bring it back to a very practical level where in these markets, okay, we're reflecting back on these stats where everything increases. Great, but we're just, obviously we're just mediators of the market wherever we're in. But I think one thing I'm really proud of this business though is that we seem to show that doesn't matter what the market is, it's always producing great results for the clients at the end of the day. And we had this morning with, I was chatting with one of the apprentice builders actually at a house. And
is this at your place?
My friend's house.
Yep.
At the moment. So they'd just installed a new kitchen, and one of the things that they were like, there was a couple of little things where, they double supported a couple of little single frames on the kitchen bench, a few little bits. But one thing we were chatting about was the idea about why you employ someone to begin with, is that you really want someone to defend you in an area that you're not strong in. And
like you're going to war.
Yeah. And so one of the things they
Jesus.
But what I liked about though is that they argued with the plumbers about saying that's not a good enough job because they needed like one of them 1100 mil pipe and they put a 700 mil. I don't know what they were talking about. But the point was that they were prepared to have that hard conversation. Say, hey, you are not doing a good enough job. Fix it.
Yeah.
So is that element that they were defending? My friend in that case to say, well, look. You need to up your game because it reflects on all of us. And I love that moment because even in, reflecting on Tom's experiences that, like I said with, I suppose when we're training someone, I've got my failings and that's why I'm lucky being part of a bigger team. Aaron learning his skill, he can learn from the best of the best in all different ways.
Yep.
When Tommy moves into his full, once he gets qualified, I think in only 3 months, he can sit there and take all the best elements of all the people he's learned from and go and add that extra little bit of sport.
Yeah, he's building up that little network in his corner, like you always say. And I guess the other analogy is that could be used is that you're only as strong as the weakest link in your chain. So
100%.
you've kind of, as long as everybody else is supporting each other and bringing the team together,
And we
everything will be okay.
We called it the Friday night special because there was a little clip that sat above the line of the bench, and so the stone is going to come on top of it, and it won't sit properly.
Yep.
And because what happened was obviously one of the guys at the end of the day, Friday night, went, that'll do.
Close enough is near enough.
And the thing is that we can never let that falter, because that element of always being, and that's for me, I needed that rest because I knew that I was going to get to that point where I probably turned to a Friday night special.
But now I'm confused because 60% was good enough at the start of the show, John. We're saying.
Now there's a callback and a half.
Now, my music room is different because I can't play any music.
That poor guy was probably a maraca guy.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be involved.
That's good, Pat. That's good. I think we've got to end there. That's like a drop the mic moment. We can't go any further than that.
It's funny because it's true. So, point is, don't listen to my music.
But trust my real estate skills.
Well, ours.
I do cover sheets when I don't need to. No, look, it's awesome having us back in the room. I knew that it'd be quite a giggle. Thank you, Nino, for putting together all the notes, which I think we covered off for maybe 2.5 minutes of the show. But we do really appreciate everything you do. We really appreciate our listeners. I can't believe we've got to 97. We're so close to 100. I'm looking forward to that letter from the Queen to say congratulations on reaching the century. I'm sure she's drafting it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, appreciate having you guys back. It's been really good, and continue to listen to the Property Pod and support 414 Property Co.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. We'll see you next week. Uru. You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Co.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.